I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. The title of tonight's Starborn show is called Feelings Beat Facts. And that is because our feelings are ruled by the water signs. And this week, there's only one favorable trine among the planets, and it is in the water signs, and it's really a strong one. And that's why feelings beat facts, because today the moon is in Cancer. Well, the moon rules Cancer, and it is being joined by an exalted planet, Jupiter, which is also in Cancer. These are the two best planets in the whole heavens, and they're together in the same sign. And Cancer rules the traditional fourth house of home, last half of life, and endings. But it rules a lot more than that. Cancer rules the whole food business. It rules agriculture or anything coming out of the ground. So it rules farming and ranching and mining, and it rules the kind of restaurants that are called mom and pop restaurants, where you can bring the whole family and we can all just eat and share each other's food. But Cancer rules more than that too. Cancer rules the masses, and so Cancer rules unions. It also rules the Congress in our country, because the sun sign of America is Cancer. It's also the sun sign of Canada and of Ukraine. And so those three countries are going to be really on a roll this week as people respond to their feelings. And that is because the water signs not only rule our feelings, but they rule healing. And so a lot of people can be very much in touch with their feelings. But the reason why the show is titled Feelings Beat Facts is because we're still going to have to face facts as well. And that is because the two planets in Cancer are trining two other planets in Pisces. And they are Mercury and Mars in Pisces. Mars is not happy in Pisces because it can make people also indulge in alcoholism, drug addiction, or sexual promiscuity. So those are things to stay away from. But Pisces also rules miracles and charity. But it's a double-bodied sign. So these four planets are all in trine to each other right now, which is great, because Pisces rules things that are hidden behind the scenes. There may be some matters that need to be cleared up from behind the scenes. And so will justice be done? Yes, it will be. And the reason why is that Jupiter and the moon in Cancer are trining Mars, and Mercury in Pisces are also trining the third water sign, which is Scorpio. Scorpio is a fixed financial sign, but it also rules the military, and it rules the whole medical field, as well as ruling justice and survival. And because it's a fixed financial sign, it rules credit, debt, taxes, loans, and it rules insurance costs and inheritance and grants or money coming in from any other source. So there's a lot going on in the water signs right now, and it should be rather favorable. And so that is very good. But there are still some things that we have to watch out for. Of course, it's not a perfect world. And the problem is that there are some planets that are squaring each other rather harshly right now, and 6 of them are in the cardinal signs. And that is because Cancer is a cardinal sign. And so that wonderful moon and Jupiter today are being squared by 4 other planets in Aries. And they are Saturn and Neptune and the Sun, which are closely conjuncting each other in early Aries. And then Venus is also in Aries, but at 24 degrees at the end of the sign. So these 4 planets in Aries are squaring the 2 best planets in the heavens, the moon and Jupiter in Cancer. And together these 6 planets are also squaring and opposing the other 2 cardinal signs, which are Libra and Capricorn. And so this is setting up some losing situations. And remember, we can all be in touch with our feelings, but that doesn't mean that everybody wins right now because of these harsh squares. And so that means that there can be people who, since the sign of Aries is so strong with 4 planets there, there can be people who have been wanting to make a new start, or maybe they've already done that, and they're realizing right now that it was actually a false start. In other words, it wasn't something that they wanted to continue. And because it was a false start, something like that could actually lead to failure because it wouldn't succeed right now. And on top of that, that could result in something like the breakup of a partnership, or because that's Libra, where the 6 planets are squaring and opposing, or it can be that somebody who was aspiring to greater heights in their career and were wanting to have a very good public reputation right now can be disappointed. That too could be a losing situation. And that is because the sign of Capricorn is being squared by all 4 planets in Aries, and it's being opposed by the Moon and Jupiter in Cancer. And so that too is a losing situation where someone, either due to a little wrinkle in their career reputation that has been hurt in some way, or because they were wanting to get some sort of promotion which they were not really qualified for, so that promotion is denied. And that's a losing situation as well. And so those things can be going on right now. And then there are another 2 planets in the fixed signs, and they're squaring each other. And that's because this has been going on for a while, because Pluto is in Aquarius, the sign of the future, and it represents upper management that's got their eyes on the future. But that Pluto, which is one of the co-rulers of Scorpio, is being squared by Uranus, a malefic planet in Taurus. And Uranus has now moved up to the 29th degree of fate in Taurus, which is a fixed financial sign, and that rules commercial real estate. Residential real estate is ruled by Cancer, but commercial real estate and very high-priced property is ruled by Taurus. And it rules the New York Stock Exchange and a lot of different investments. And so that planet of instability and volatility and rebellion, Uranus, is being squared by Pluto in Aquarius. And so these 2 planets are also squaring and opposing the other 2 planets in the fixed signs of Leo and Scorpio. And so once again, big egos are not getting along with big money in one way or another, and there can be some losing situations due to higher debt, or due to very stringent credit terms that people are having a hard time with, or simply due to the fact that, money that was promised is perhaps not really there. And so we can be very sure of our feelings, yes, because of the wonderful grand trine in the water signs. But we still have to face facts, and some of the facts could be a little unsettling right now because of the harsh squares of so many planets. And so we have to sort of face up to that as well. So we're not all going to get our way this week, but we are still all going to be rather sure of our feelings and of things that are important to us in the long run. Remember, Cancer rules the last half of life, and it rules endings. And there could actually be some very fortunate endings right now that are a little bit overdue, and they can work out well. And if that happens, that could put people, that could make people even more sure of their feelings and feel a little bit more at home with the choices that they're making, which might be better choices for them in the end. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, for you, your sign is absolutely loaded right now, Aries, because Neptune and Saturn and the Sun are all tightly conjuncting each other in the early degrees of your sign, and then they are being joined by Venus, which has been in your sign for a while. It's at 24 degrees. They're all direct. They're moving forward. And Aries, there aren't any other planets in the fire signs, so there's no backup to your sign. But your sign is pretty well loaded with planets. However, they are being challenged. And your sign is being squared by the 2 best planets in the heavens, Jupiter, and the Moon in Cancer. The Moon rules that sign, and Jupiter is exalted there. And they have backup from the planets in Pisces. And so, Aries, you you could be at a sort of a crossroads in your life right now, where you may be realizing right now that you have been involved in some false starts, at least one, perhaps more than that, that are false starts. And you can be seeing that pretty clearly right now. And since Venus is in your sign, you might be deciding to end a few things right now. Cancer rules endings, and I think they're a little bit overdue. As you decide to go on, and because if something is a false start, that would not make an Aries happy at all. With Venus in your sign, you want to be happy, you know. Venus is not at home in your sign because your sign is ruled by Mars. And so there is the possibility of a breakup in a partnership, and this would not be temporary. This would be permanent. And that is because I think in the end it would make you much happier. Even if something was a false start and it failed and wasn't going to succeed, and you can see that right now, your sign is so good at new beginnings that that is just going to free you up to go in a different direction with other people. And I think that you will be actually glad when there is a breakup in some sort of a partnership. I don't know if it's personal or if it's business oriented or if it's social or whatever it is. It'll be a permanent permanent breakup. And Aries, just think of it as your ticket to freedom, because it'll allow you to go in a new direction that would be better for you. The problem in the first place was the false start, and that's what you can see clearly. And so, you know, if you want to get rid of that and head in a new direction, Aries, you could really do that. I suggest that you think real seriously about that, Aries, and don't wait any longer. And the reason why is that Jupiter in the second half of the year, in the last half of the year, is going to come into Leo, and it's going to trine your sun. And you should not be stuck in things that are false or unsatisfactory. You should be ready to roll with something new, Aries. But you have to end one thing before you can start another, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus. Finally, this malefic planet that has been in your sign for almost 7 years is finally at the 29th degree of fate in your sign, Taurus, and it has no backup. In other words, there's nothing in Virgo and there's nothing in Capricorn to back it up. So it's really on its own, and it's being squared by Pluto in Aquarius, and that's been going on for a while. But the real problem is that Uranus is at the 29th degree of fate in your sign, meaning that there are financial matters in your life, Taurus, that are either on or over. And it is no in between. And so if you are thinking that your investments are not all paying off and you're considering selling some of them, that's probably a good idea. Or if you have launched in a new direction, which is turning out to be prohibitively expensive, much more expensive than you thought it would be, it would be good to sell that too, if you can, or at least get out of it, Taurus. Because Pluto is not going to stop squaring your sun sign for well over a decade. I think it's going to be in Aquarius, I think about 15 to 17 years. And it will continually square your sign, Taurus. And that means that people who are in upper management that have got their eyes on the future are you know, they're not going to slow down. Particularly in the next 7 years when Uranus then moves into Gemini on April 26th and trines at Pluto, they're not going to slow down or wait for anything. And so there are some circumstances in your life, Taurus, that could be moving a little too fast for you. And Taurus is an earth sign, and all the earth signs are sort of steady eddies. They like to just keep going, one foot in front of the other. And if that is your style, but you're being surrounded by people that are not thinking like that right now, Taurus, what are you going to do? It's probably a better idea for you to think about gearing down instead of gearing up. And the reason why is if it has any effect on your career, there could be a little bit of a disappointment. If you were thinking that you were going to be promoted to a higher position right now, I don't think that that's going to happen, Taurus. Now, it isn't for your lack of talent on your part. It is that people are moving in newer directions, and they may not be considering you for the newer direction. So it's not a reflection on whether you're talented or not. It's simply that the directions that people are going in as far as their careers and their future is a little bit different than the direction probably that you would be comfortable in. And it doesn't mean you're going broke or anything, Taurus. It just means that there's probably going to be a disappointment for you in some sort of career aspiration that you had. It may not, it might be denied. Now, it might be due to budget cuts. People have to be real careful with their money right now, including you. And so something that you wanted isn't going to happen, Taurus. But you know, Taurus, it doesn't mean that you've actually lost anything except some sort of thing that was out there in the future. It doesn't mean you've lost who you are or what you have. So, you know, Taurus, you're going to be very relieved when Uranus finally leaves your sign for good on April 26th, and it won't be back to your sign for 84 years. So you might not have to worry about that anymore. So just be happy with what you've already done, and realize that if one door closes, that's no loss to you personally, Taurus. You're still the same person, and you still have the same achievements from your past, and there's nothing wrong with resting on your laurels, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, you know, Gemini, you can be still bothered a little bit by things that are not where you want them to be. And that's because there are not very many planets in the air signs right now. There's only one, and it is Pluto in Aquarius. It is trining your sun, Gemini, which means that people in upper management who have got their eyes on the future are really making plans right now. They may not be announcing their plans, or they may not be letting you know about them, but they might be considering you for them, Gemini, since Pluto does trine your sun. And so my advice to you right now, Gemini, because there aren't very many planets in the air signs, but there is one, and the only one is trining your sun, is that you try to let your good ideas known. Try to add, your sign rules advertising, try to advertise your good ideas to people who are higher up now. Okay, what's wrong with that? If you send them some good idea, or you request a meeting with somebody who's sort of at the top and may have the authority to approve your idea, then that is not wasted effort. It doesn't mean anything's going to happen tomorrow, but at least you'd be talking to the right people, Gemini. And your sign rules communication, and you're really good at that. Well, Gemini, you are entering a period of time by the end of next month, in just a month, when Uranus is on April 26 goes into your sign, and it will stay there for 7 years, continually being trined by that Pluto in Aquarius. Those are the people in upper management that have got their eye on the future. They're going to look very favorably upon you, Gemini. So if you have some new ideas or new plans that could actually make your employer a little richer or a little happier, well, why don't you refine those plans a little bit, or your ideas, and set them up in something that you could give to somebody after you've made a presentation. Leave them some information, and just wait and see what happens, Gemini, because you know you can't be successful without a good idea, and you are going to spend the next 7 years being around other people who have good ideas, and also you're going to have more of your own. And that is really going to open doors for you, Gemini. So if you're a person who's at an age where you're thinking, oh, I'm going to retire, I don't think so, Gemini. Even if you're just doing volunteer work, I think that you're entering a 7-year period pretty soon that is going to take you further than you realize, and you'll love it. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer. Oh boy, Cancer, you couldn't ask for anything better than right now. Because the moon is in your sign, that's your ruler, and Jupiter, an exalted Jupiter, is in your sign as well. These are the two best planets in the heavens, because boy, are they happy being in your sign, Cancer. And on top of that, your sign has backup, because Mercury and Mars, both of which are direct, there are no retrograde planets now, everything is direct, are in Pisces, and they're trining your sun. So there might be something behind the scenes that could represent some troubling episode in your life, or some troubling news that you're associated with, or that involves your family in one way or another, Cancer. And that's because Mars is in Pisces. But it looks like it might, you know, if you talk about things and you do it in a way that proves that you still really care about people, I think that you can solve those problems. If somebody is wanting to threaten you with something, then one of two things is possible. Either they've been lying to you all along. Mars and Pisces could represent, Pisces rules omissions and deceptions. If either there's a little something they haven't been telling you for quite a while, or else they are wanting to talk to you about a problem, and you could probably be very understanding and open to this discussion about that. This is a very good time for you to approach a problem behind the scenes and talk about it, and try, Mercury's in Pisces as well, that rules communication, and try to bring out both sides of an issue and try to reach some sort of understanding right now. Because these 4 planets, the 2 in your sign and the 2 in Pisces, which are trining each other, are also trining the sign of Scorpio. It's the 3rd water sign, and remember, water signs rule healing. So this might be a very good time somehow to heal something that has either been bothering you or a family member or a dear friend, and sort of get it out in the open and discuss it so that justice can be done. Whether it's about a financial affair, because Scorpio does rule finances, or it could have something to do with the medical field or with the military in one way or another. This is a really good time to sort of discuss things and talk about how you really feel. Because Cancer, you should stand on your feelings now. Everybody understands their feelings. Everybody knows how they feel about things. You don't have to change your mind about that, Cancer. You know what your real feelings are. And maybe this is a time, instead of being somewhat quiet, maybe it's time that you explained them a little more clearly so that people can understand where you're coming from. And either they're on your wavelength, Cancer, or they're not. In other words, either they've been sort of kidding you or only telling you a half-truth instead of the whole truth, or else things are going to get resolved. I don't see how you can lose, Cancer, by talking about how you really feel right now. And also, you may be wanting to make some definite plans for the last half of your life, which is what your sign rules, or for some necessary endings that are long overdue. And you could do that. There is really nothing stopping you, except for people who may have been trying to start something with you, and you may be at a point where you're realizing that something has been a false start. There could even have been more than one false start. That's because the 4 planets in Aries are squaring the 2 in your sign. And the Aries rules new starts, and people that want to make them, and they want to do them quick, or they want to have it their way. And that isn't the way a Cancer works. And so there could be the end of a partnership because of a false start, because you're realizing, that isn't really who you want to spend the rest of your life with, or it isn't really something that you want to do for the rest of your life, or it's just not going to work. Maybe you've been involved for long enough to know that it's not going to work. And so this is a golden time for you to end something, Cancer. And it's sort of ending it well, doing it the right way and doing it now. Because I don't see how anything can really hurt you. It can be that some false start you've already made has hurt you. And that's what you need to end. Because you're under such good aspects, you couldn't get hurt now if you tried, Cancer. It's just that you really have to be sincere about how you feel and what you're doing. And that's up to you. And so no more pussyfooting around, Cancer. You have to be real sincere. And with the 2 best planets in the heavens in your sun sign, you can say what you really believe and what's really in your heart, and you can say it to the right people. And why shouldn't you? It's time to do that. But if you've still been horsing around with false starts and other temporary things, forget it. You're a person that needs to come home to yourself, Cancer. And it's right now. And guess what? You'll be so happy when you do that. You will be really comfortable just by facing the truth that's in your own heart. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo. Remember, Leo, I said there are still 2 planets in the fixed signs, and they're squaring each other. Well, they're both opposing and squaring your sign as well, Leo, and that is, so I'm telling you the bad news first. That is because your sign rules leadership, and Pluto in Aquarius, which typifies new management that's headed into the future, that Pluto is opposing your sun sign, which means they're not going to slow down for you, Leo. They're just going to keep going in whatever new direction that they want to take. And so you might be excluded from something that, even if you find it fascinating, they would not necessarily think that you are necessary for their plan. It doesn't have anything to do with whether they like you or not, Leo. It's just, do you fit in with the plan for the future? I think that you do not, at least not in their plans. That doesn't mean you can't have future plans of your own, though, Leo. But you have money problems, I think, because that Uranus in Taurus at the 29th degree of fate, which means something is on or over financially, which involves some sort of big money or high-priced property or investments. You can be facing a real quandary there, Leo, because perhaps your investments are not worth what they were before for one reason or another. It might not be your fault, but they're still not worth what you thought they would be, and you're going to have to sort of settle for less, or else you're going to have to sell something. And your sign rules extravagance, Leo. This is not the time to be extravagant. And also, I think you need to face the fact that these are not the good old days, and you cannot afford the extravagant ways that you used to do. Those days are gone, Leo. However, you can make a new start. And the reason why I think you're going to have to make a new start too, Leo, is because your sign, which doesn't have any planets in it, is being trined by all 4 planets in Aries, which does rule new beginnings. If ever there was a time for you to make a new beginning, even if you were slowly getting it off the ground, Leo, you should do it. The reason why slow is being mentioned is because Saturn is in Aries, trining your sun. Well, Neptune is in Aries, meaning you could be kidding yourself about a new beginning, or you may be realizing that you've already made a few false starts. Well, fine. But the sun, your ruler, is in Aries as well. It's conjuncting Neptune and Saturn, but it's there at 5 degrees, and then Venus is later on in Aries at 24 degrees, so it's getting ready to leave Aries. So this is an opportune time for you to be looking around, Leo, for someone or something new, and get on their bandwagon and get going in that direction. Because you could say, oh, I'm going to be the Lone Ranger, I'm going to do everything my way. Well, you know, the 4 planets in Aries are trining your sun. They're not all good planets. Neptune makes you kid yourself, and Saturn represents obstacles and delays, and Venus is about to leave. This is the time when you need to sort of hook up with somebody else who's got a good idea. And even if you sort of had to play second fiddle to them at the start, at least you'd be going in the right direction, Leo. And Jupiter is coming into your sign by the end of June, and it will stay there for a year. And so you should not cling to yesterday for any reason, Leo. You should be looking toward the future. And if you're not able to sort of pair up with people that are already got their future plans in mind, it doesn't mean that you couldn't start over somewhere else and with someone else. And it doesn't mean that everything would succeed right away, but at least it would be new. And that's what the direction you need to go in, Leo. New. And so it doesn't mean that you need to forsake all your old friends or anything like that. But it does mean that if you want to start something new, I think that you are going to have to consider working with someone else who also wants to start something new. And you may not be the head honcho on that, but as long as you're on the right team, then you've got a brighter future than you have now. And so I wish that you would consider, moving in a new direction, Leo. But get ready, because Jupiter's coming into your sign. And you can either live off the lavish lifestyle that you enjoyed in the past, or you can decide to go in a new direction, probably on a smaller budget, and still make it. So just think it over. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time, Virgo, when there are not very many planets in the earth signs. In fact, there's only one, and it is at the 29th degree of fate, and that is Uranus in Taurus, which is in the last degree of Taurus, and that is where there is a blind star. And that means there's a lot of people around, even including you, Virgo, who have been a little bit blind about money or investments, which may not have the value that they used to have. And even if you already made an investment and you really like it, the costs could be going up on it. Or if it's property, the taxes could be going up on it. In other words, it doesn't represent the profit that you thought it would initially, because there's too many additional costs connected to it, and costs suck up the profit. And so this is a time, Virgo, when you need to take a look really closely at what you're doing with your money, because Uranus is a malefic planet of sudden surprising change and volatility and rebellion and instability. And if you're around anybody who's sort of losing their shirt right now, you need to stay away from them. Or if you're in partnership with some people that were anticipating that they were going to get promoted, or they were going to be on Easy Street, or if you've been anticipating that you were going to, rise to the top right now, Virgo, I'm not so sure about that. And also, that might be a saving grace. If you don't get a promotion right now, if you just keep on doing the same stuff that you've been doing, Virgo, you would at least be in a situation that you're very familiar with and secure with. And this is not the time, with so few planets in the earth signs. There's only one, and it's a malefic planet, Uranus in Taurus. When your sign doesn't have any backup, and Mars and Mercury, your own ruler, are in Pisces opposing your sun sign. There's somebody behind the scenes in your life, Virgo, that is not what they seem. They're not a nice person. And they've got a grudge, or they're jealous. Mars rules jealousy, greed, aggression, and hate. And behind the scenes, they could be bothering you, or they could be saying things about you that aren't true at all. And, these planets are direct in Pisces now. And so you need to sort of quiet down a little bit right now, Virgo. Your sign doesn't have a lot of backup, and there's some enemy around somewhere. There could be two of them, because Pisces is a double-bodied sign. And they want to make trouble for you. Now, I would suspect the reason they want to make trouble is because you're pretty talented. Virgos are smart people. Rules analysis. They're good problem solvers. It's just you might have been hanging around with the wrong crowd, Virgo. Or there could be people that are urging you to do things that aren't good for you, particularly not good for your health. And so Pisces rules alcoholism, drug addiction, and sexual promiscuity. And if anybody is saying, hey, let's go do more of that, that's the person you need to say goodbye to, Virgo. Because they don't have your best interest at heart at all. And so you have to be sort of careful who your friends are right now, Virgo. And one good thing to ask yourself is, who is your friend? Or who is somebody that just wants to drag you down or lie to you? That's not a friend, that's an enemy. And so you need to look around a little bit more. You are not in a safe enough place right now, Virgo. There isn't enough backup in the earth signs. And you have this harsh opposition from Pisces. So you really need to be a little bit more careful. And if I were you and you're doing anything that would be harmful to your health, even if it's just a social thing, I would take a break on that right now, Virgo. Stay home. Virgos like their solitude. Clean up your life a little bit. Or reconnect with people who really have your best interest at heart, not the ones that want to lead you down the garden path to your own ruin. Don't do that. And so this is a time to be a little bit more selective about who you spend your time with, and how much things are costing you right now. And if I were you, I'd if you can't find somebody that shares your values, then just stay by yourself for a while. There's plenty for you to do, Virgo, and you can do it by yourself. And also, Virgos do like their solitude, so nothing wrong with that. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is the time when you need to be pretty careful. And the reason why is that there's 6 planets in the cardinal signs, and yours is a cardinal sign. But there's only one planet in an air sign, that's Pluto in Aquarius, which is trining your sun, which means that people that are a little higher up or influential, or even if they've been retired they could have been very influential in their former job. They can be very drawn to you, Libra. Libras are awfully easy to get along with. And also, Libras, you know, they know how to get along with a lot of different people. It isn't just that Libras are charming, it's that they work at it. They really work at getting along with people. Not everybody does that, Libra, but you happen to be very good at that. And some people in upper management could be very drawn to your ability to sort of mix and mingle quite well with everyone without ruffling anybody's feathers. It is more than just your charm. Libras have a way of knowing when to say something and when not to. And for that reason, your sign rules compromise, and it rules being tactful, and it rules diplomacy, and it does rule partnership. When Uranus moves into Gemini on April 26th, which is only a month away, it is going to trine your sun for 7 years. Pluto is going to trine your sun for 15 or 17 years, and a whole new world is going to open up for you, Libra. And so this is a time when you have to ask yourself very carefully if you have made a few false starts. Because if you have, this is the time to admit it and end them. And the reason why is that not only is the moon and Jupiter in Cancer squaring your sun, which means that your home life may not be everything you want it to be, but there are another 4 planets opposing your sun sign, Libra, and that's a little too many for anybody to handle, because it's Venus, your own ruler, at 24 degrees of Aries, is opposing your sun sign, which means some partnership has not been exactly fun lately. And also it could have represented a false start, and you probably can really see that quite clearly now. And so you should make an ending of that. But also, the Sun, Neptune, and Saturn are also opposing your sun sign. So somebody who thinks that they should be the boss, and they can say, well, I'm older, or I have more experience, or I know what I'm doing, and they want you to do it their way, Libra. And I don't think that you should go along for the ride, okay? Because where would you fit in? You'd always be taking orders from somebody that you don't necessarily respect, and it's just because they say they're the boss, but it doesn't mean they're smarter than you. And so this is a time when if you have made a false start and you realize that someone is just not your cup of tea, this is the time for you to end it. And the reason why is because there's nothing good in it if you continue it. It's not going to get better. It's just going to keep making you realize you're in the wrong place with the wrong crowd or the wrong person. That's a false start. And so why not admit it and just end it? Because, the doors to your future are about to open, Libra, but are you sure you're with the right people? Because it's looking like somebody else wants to be the head honcho, or somebody wants to tell you what to do, or somebody wants to have you just be the person who follows along. Well, that's not a partnership. That's a little bit more like slave and master, and that's not right for you, Libra. So admit you're in a false start, end a partnership, or end something that isn't making you happy, so that you can open yourself up to something better, which I guarantee your future's about to open up. It really will. When Uranus goes into Gemini on April 20, it doesn't mean on the day of April 26 something's going to open up, but for the next 7 years things are going to open up for you. And you're going to be surprised that they're going to open up from people at the top that want you to contribute to a better future. In other words, you are going to be a partner of somebody, Libra, either at work or in a social activity, or in your neighborhood, or with young people, or with something that will represent a very happy partnership that won't be a false start. You just got to get rid of the false start first, Libra, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time, Scorpio, when you benefit greatly from the fact that all 4 planets that are in a trine in the water sign are trining your sign, Scorpio. So the 2 best planets in the heavens, the moon in Cancer today and the exalted Jupiter in Cancer, are trining your sun. That's real good for you if you want to settle any financial problems, or you want to settle a home matter or a real estate matter, and you could do it. It would be something that involves residential real estate, because that's what Cancer rules. And so if you were going to move, this is a very good time for you to move, because Cancer rules moving. Or if you're setting up a new home, or moving back to a home, or back to a place that is a little bit more familiar to you because it represents the way you were raised or the way your parents raised you. That would be exactly the right thing to do, and you'd benefit from that a lot, Scorpio. You could even benefit from that financially. And then the other thing is that Mercury and Mars in Pisces are also trining your sun. So if you had a few enemies behind the scenes, or if you had been doing some things behind the scenes previously in your life that involved alcoholism, drug addiction, or sexual promiscuity, you're either going to have to own up to all that right now, as justice is done, because justice is ruled by your sign, or it can be that you are sort of deciding to swear all that off. Because Mars is in Pisces, that can get people in trouble behind the scenes, but it's your ruler, and it's trining your sun. And so is Mercury. You may just decide very quietly in the privacy of your own home or wherever you are, Scorpio, you may be deciding to sort of swear off the little things that you did wrong in your past, and be much more strict with yourself about who you're with and what you're doing. And that could lead you to much greater happiness. It would require some endings, though. And Cancer rules endings, but the two best planets are in Cancer, the Moon and Jupiter. You could end something beautifully right now, Scorpio. And it would also represent some sort of justice that you were able to do. Sort of setting something right. You could do it. And you could also end other things behind the scenes that had been bothering you a lot. So the world's your oyster right now, Scorpio. The thing you do have to watch out for is that Pluto, your other ruler, is in Aquarius, which rules people that want to go into the future. You may not be too sure if they've got the money to do that, though, and I don't think they do. But this is not the time for you to be too lavish with your money, Scorpio. You should keep your hands in your pocket, because it doesn't matter how much they think something's going to work in the future. They don't have any proof of that. And, don't put your money down on something that is not solid right now, Scorpio. You might lose it. And the reason why is that a malefic planet, Uranus, is at the 29th degree of Taurus on a blind star, and it is opposing your sun sign, which means there are some investments of yours that could be dropping. They could be in high-priced real estate or in commercial real estate, or they could be in any kind of investment. And, it's sort of on or over there, Scorpio. Either you've accrued some debt that could be a little bit heavy right now, or there are loans outstanding, or there are credit problems around. All of those things could be possible. But actually, your sign is a water sign, and the only trine is in the water signs. And so if you're having money difficulties or financial difficulties of one sort or another, I think you can work them out to your benefit. Even if it involves selling something, you could probably do that and sort of get out from under. And so you should think about that, Scorpio, because the water signs are so beautifully aspected right now that you need to come home to what's really and who is really important to you, and concentrate on your feelings. And, get your mind off the money right now, Scorpio, and think about who you really care about. And, you need to put your heart where your feelings are. Because money doesn't buy love. I know, saying that to a financial sign almost makes them think that I'm telling them something that's not true, but I'm telling you the truth. Money doesn't buy love. But love begets love. And so you need to be a lot more sincere about your feelings and stick with those. That will not only enrich your heart, it will enrich your life, probably for the rest of your life. Remember, Cancer rules the last half of life. And boy, is that well aspected right now, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, yours is a mutable sign. There aren't very many planets in mutable signs right now. In fact, there's only 2, and they're in Pisces. And so Mercury and Mars are squaring your sun, Sagittarius, and so there can be some information coming out, possibly about other people that you know or that you've been with behind the scenes, and that information could not be flattering right now. Mars is not happy in Pisces, and it is squaring your sun. So if there are some people in your life, Sagittarius, that have been telling you one thing but doing another, you're probably going to find out which is true right now. And you might have to do something about that. In other words, if people have been sort of misleading you deliberately, or leaving out information that you should have known, or creating problems for you through omissions by not being honest with you, then you need to let those people go, Sagittarius. They're not doing you any good. They might have been sort of playing you for a sucker and benefiting themselves instead, which would not be good. But on the other hand, Sagittarius, if you could get rid of people like that in your life and really say goodbye to them once and for all, then there are 4 planets in Aries, which is a fire sign, and yours is too, and they all trine your sun. And so Neptune is there, Saturn is there, and the Sun is there. They are all tightly conjuncting each other in early Aries, and then Venus is also there at 24 degrees of Aries. And because they trine their sun, and particularly because Venus is in late Aries, but it's trining your sun, it means, Sagittarius, that something that you've had your little heart set on for quite a while that could have involved something new. I'm not saying that it's been done yet, but it could have been something that you wanted to start, or that you're still got your eyes on, or you still got your hopes up about. That you might hear some good news about that right about now, with Venus trining your sun, because Venus has been in Aries for a while. Something might move forward now, or clear up for you that had been a little bit cloudy, or you could have been uncertain about whether it would really make it or not. It could make it. And yet, it wouldn't be as fast as you would like. All of the fire signs, they like action, they like to get going. But you need to cultivate patience. We all do. Patience is ruled by Scorpio. That is really rather well aspected right now, because it's a water sign, and there's only 1 trine, and it's in the water signs right now, which means we all have to stick to our real feelings about how we really feel. And if you only go that far, right now, Sagittarius, you could be very happy with that by facing your own true feelings right now and deciding, I could turn over a new leaf. I can start something new. Or possibly the thing that I've been wanting to start for a long time. Maybe that can get done. Maybe not as fast as I would like, but it could get off the ground. And you should start thinking about that, Sagittarius. Because Jupiter is going to come into Leo at the end of June, and it will be trining your sun for a year. So this is a time that you really need to look forward, not back. And so if something has just been going along, not really doing anything, what are you wasting your time on that for, Sagittarius? You should be looking for new things. Even something new that you'd been wanting to do for a long time. Give it another go, Sagittarius. I don't think you have anything to lose. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time, Capricorn, when just like Virgo, there's very few planets in the earth signs right now, so your sign doesn't have much support. There's only 1 sign trining your sun, and it is Uranus in Taurus at the 29th degree of fate, meaning a financial matter somewhere in your life, Capricorn, is on or over. And it's looking like it's over. And the reason why is that perhaps it cannot stand the test of the future. We're always talking about the test of time, meaning give something the test of time because things should go along the way they've always gone along. With Pluto in Aquarius, that's not going to be quite the standard that we can measure things by now. We have to ask ourselves if we are comfortable with going forward in the future. Not if we fit into the future, but if the changes in the future fit us or complement what we want to do. That's very important for you to ask yourself, Capricorn, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn rules time. And Capricorns benefit by sticking to something over time. And also, you're going to live to be really old because Capricorn rules old age. You know, going the distance over time. You understand how to do that, Capricorn. But how many new things in the future are going to really benefit you on your road over time? That's what you have to be asking yourself right now. Do you really have to jump into everything new right now? Well, if you were going to try that, I don't think you'd succeed. And the reason why is that you too could have made some false starts. There are 4 planets in Aries, one of which is your ruler, Capricorn, and they all square your sun. And then Jupiter and the moon in Cancer oppose your sun. 6 planets are giving you a big problem right now, Capricorn. There's nothing to support your sign except a malefic planet, Uranus in Taurus, which is in trouble by itself. And so you have to just say, oh, okay, slow down, Capricorn. Capricorns are not too speedy anyway. They like to just be steady. But right now, the moon and Jupiter in Cancer are opposing your sun sign. So family members or somewhere where you live or something like that, they can be challenging you. I'm not so sure you should be listening to them right now. They could have the best intentions for themselves. Not so sure they have the best intentions for you, Capricorn. But they could want your money, but you're going to have to sort out a family situation. But I would say I would keep my hands in my pocket, Capricorn. If you want to make friends with family members who have been estranged for a while, okay, that's your business, but it doesn't have to cost you money. And besides, you earned the money. You don't need to be giving it away. Those people can earn their own money. They're under wonderful aspects, so they don't need yours. And then all the planets in Aries, Neptune, Saturn, your own ruler, the Sun, and Venus are all squaring your Sun right now, Capricorn. It can be a little bit hard for you to get something new off the ground, but your ruler is in Aries. And I would say, Capricorn, that you just have to ask yourself how many new things you want to take on right now. And it's looking to me like there could be more false starts. Even if something was new or had been in existence for a while, you may be realizing that, okay, it isn't really fitting, it is a false start, and you should end it. Because there will be better things. It's just that you don't have to carry so much on your shoulders right now, Capricorn. And besides, there isn't enough backup in the earth signs to be able to do that successfully. So if I were you, I would unload a little bit right now. Unload, or end the false starts, or let somebody else go and do what they want. If they want your money to go do something, just encourage them to go do it on their own. Maybe it's time that they learn how to do that. So if I were you, I'd keep my hands in my pocket right now. But on the other hand, if you're involved in some relationships or some direction that is proving to be false, or you're just uncomfortable with it, then why don't you end it? Because you can start off in another direction at a later date. Capricorns do not need to be in a hurry. They've got time on their side, more than anybody else does. So good luck, Capricorn, and think before you go forward right now. And if you don't feel like taking an additional step in a new direction, or you feel that you've made a false start, then you should end the false start and maybe just take a break for right now. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is a time, Aquarius, with Pluto still in your sign, where it's going to be for well over a decade. In fact, I think it's going to be there for about 15 to 17 years. With Pluto in your sign, and because it's the only planet in an air sign right now, it doesn't have any backup, Aquarius. Okay, nothing in Gemini, there's nothing in Libra right now. And on top of that, you could be looking at some hefty financial problems right now. Now, that doesn't mean you're broke, Aquarius, but it means you might be looking at sort of the high cost of living right now, or some outstanding loans, or some debts, or just higher credit card terms, something like that, because Uranus, a malefic planet, and your own ruler, is in Taurus at the 29th degree of fate, which means something is on or over, and it's a financial matter that's on or over for you, Aquarius. And so, you know, you might have to change your future plans, because you could have the biggest plans in the world, but if you don't have the money to pay for them, then you'll have to sort of change or set the timeline out a little bit further in the future. The reason why you should still keep thinking about the future, though, Aquarius, is because your ruler, Aquarius, once it gets off this 29th degree of Taurus, which means other people can, including you, can be going, your investments could be going down, not up. But it'll go into Gemini on April 26th, and it will trine your sun for the first time in many, many years. And for the first time ever in our existence, it's going to be trining Pluto in your sign as well. And that is going to set you up for future expansion. It may not be right away, but Uranus is the ruler of your sign, and it rules sudden, surprising change. And that's why it's better for you just to sort of clear the decks and get ready for your future right now, Aquarius. That doesn't cost any money. It really could require some work from you. You need to get prepared for your future. You don't have to pay for it right now, but you've got to get ready for it. And so that's what you should be doing. Now, don't worry about the money. There will be other people coming along that will help you with your good ideas. You're really on the verge of future success, but you have to make room for it, Aquarius. And that means you've got to get rid of some things first. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time, Pisces, when I think you got to look in the mirror, and I hope you like what you see. But if there's anything that you don't like when you look in the mirror, because Mars and Mercury are in your sign, or if there is some communication matter, or there is some trouble that has been brewing in the background of your life, either because you've cultivated a few bad habits like alcoholism, drug addiction, or sexual promiscuity, or you know others that have done that, maybe there are some people sort of that you've been running around with, Pisces, that are not too good for your health. And that's because your sign opposes Virgo, and Virgo rules health. So there is the possibility that you could actually make some sort of recovery right now, Pisces. And it would be recovery from a troubled matter, or some pressure that you've been undergoing, or some bad habits of yours, or some other people who have been sort of bugging you a lot, or even some false starts that you've made. You can recover from all that, Pisces, because the only trine is in the water signs. And water signs rule our feelings, and they rule healing. And so this is a time when you can be sort of blessed by seeing that this is the time to heal from something. You could be sort of ready for that right now, Pisces, ready to heal. And that is because the moon today and Jupiter, which is exalted, are both in Cancer, which rules the home, the family, the last half of life, and endings. And it's trining your sun, where you have Mercury and Mars, and together these four planets are also trining Scorpio, which is a fixed financial sign. And it also rules the medical field, and it rules the military, and it rules credit, debt, taxes, loans, insurance costs, inheritance, or grants. And so there can be a financial matter that, even if it's been troublesome for you behind the scenes, Pisces, I think you could work it out to your benefit right now. And that doesn't mean that you would necessarily be making money, but you might not be losing money. Or it can be, since Scorpio is a fixed financial sign, and the two fixed financial signs, Scorpio and Taurus, are very possessive. And sure, you're a Pisces, but somewhere around you could be pretty possessive about what you own, Pisces. And if you need to clear up a financial matter about something that you own, this is the time to do it. You could probably be successful with that. I don't know if you'd be having to pay for something that you've been putting off for a while. Well, why not do it and get it over with? Or if you're wanting to sell something and you don't know if you should or not, you should. And that would put more money in your pocket. And that might end some financial pressure that you've been under. And so this is a time to sort of clear up your financial matters, which you can do successfully right now, Pisces. Or it is time for you to realize that there's really got to be some good endings right now that can allow you to sort of open up in your future and go forward. Now, does that mean that you'd be going off to La La Land, or you'd be going off to brand new things? I don't think so, Pisces. What I mean by opening up your future means that you'd be able to come home to what would really make you happy. Cancer rules the home, you know. And those two planets in Cancer are beautifully trining your sun, and they're the strongest planets in the heavens right now, the moon. Now, the moon's not going to stay in Cancer. It only stays in a sign for 2.5 days. But boy, while it's there, Cancer, or Pisces, do your best for your family, for yourself, for any residential. Cancer rules residential real estate. You know, if you've got something to do around your home, or you're making plans to improve your home, and even if you can only afford to do it a little bit at a time, you should get on it, Pisces. That would work out really well. And if there are some false starts that you've made, this is a perfect time to end them. Because not everybody, you know, there are losing situations around right now due to the squares in the cardinal signs and in the fixed signs. You can't help that. But yours is a mutable sign. There's actually nothing squaring or opposing your sun sign, Pisces, because there's nothing in the other mutable signs right now. So this is a time when you sort of need to just get your act together and do things that are the best for you. And also, if you need to clear up some things that you've just been sort of letting hang for a while, why don't you do that? Because then that's a load off your shoulders. And you know, when you don't have as much pressure on yourself, it makes you more lovable. And it makes you enjoy life more. So you might think about that. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm sorry this got to be a little bit long. But I'd like to thank you for the new subscribers. I hope you tell your friends about Starborn, and I'll see you right back here next week. Bye.